Today we're going to be discussing the many coincidences surrounding an unindicted co-conspirator called Wendi Adelson. The state literally refers to her as that. So this is not just social media looking at someone and saying, are they involved in this? Are we going to see another arrest? Literally, she's titled an unindicted co-conspirator. Oh my goodness. And if you think of Wendi Adelson's brother, Charlie Adelson, being convicted on first-degree murder charges, solicitation to commit first-degree murder, and conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, and he was sentenced to life without parole plus 30 years. And then we were all wondering, ooh, is Donna going to be arrested? And then she was. Donna's Wendy's mother. Oh my goodness. Okay, so Donna was charged with the same charges, and guess what? She was found guilty on all counts. So this is why many of us ask ourselves, is Wendi next? Because it's actually quite plausible when you start looking at all the circumstantial evidence, and that's just what we know. I would imagine the state has much more.
Please note that this content is for adults only. Viewer discretion advised. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe, like, and share.
Now, this is an interesting conversation because in this trial, the Donna Adelson one, the most recent trial in the case, the fifth person convicted being Donna Adelson, we saw a lot more, being sprinkled in about Wendi. Like a lot more evidence that makes this case very interesting, that full justice will likely only be possible, will likely only be served once Wendy's arrested. Of course, we don't want that for her kids because they've already lost their dad, their grandma, their uncle. So to now lose their mom, that'll be so devastating. But this case is already so devastating. And, if she needs to be held accountable, she certainly will be, right? Now, before we get into all of that, I just quickly want to show you the playlist. By the way, my name is Grizzly. I'm South African. I live in Switzerland. Welcome. If you are new here, I hope that you'll consider subscribing. Check out this playlist because it might help you if you are not familiar with the case. This video in particular, before Donna Adelson's trial started, this Who's Who video is the one I'd recommend to start with. But of course, there's lots of videos like that, like trial prep. We looked at, we were all wondering, will Donna be arrested? And yeah, she was. So now wondering, will Wendi be arrested? I don't know. Very likely. Maybe in the future we'll be watching Wendy's trial. And if so, yeah, we definitely are going to be watching that together. So here's the playlist. It's linked in the description box for you. You can also find it in the playlist section of my channel, and it's called Dan Markel Case. So just a very fast recap. Wendi Adelson married Dan Markel, and that was on February 26th of 2006, and their divorce was finalized in 2013. Wendi filed for divorce in 2012. It was an extremely contentious divorce, very, very ugly divorce with Donna Adelson involving herself. That's an understatement, okay? And to the point where the whole issue was that Dan Markel was a FSU professor in Tallahassee, and he wanted to spend time with his kids and wanted them to not relocate. And Wendi wanted to relocate to Miami, where she's from, and to be closer to her parents. But the judge denied Wendy's relocation motion. And so she was kind of stuck in Tallahassee. So when you look at these clips that we're going to look at today, it's interesting because Wendi had the most motive out of everyone to, solve an almost unsolvable problem. Do you know what I mean? Because she didn't get away in court at all. So before we look at that, I want to show you, I've got lots of clips for you. I really want to show you this podcast in case you've never seen it before. It's called Writing Class Radio. You can see this was published December 3rd of 2015. Dan Markel was murdered July 18th of 2014. So this was 10 months later that Wendi actually spoke on this podcast. And it says here, today we give you Wendi Adelson, the way she revealed herself in the first semester. Andrea talks about hot topics, so you can read this. I'll link this for you. But the point is, this is Wendi Adelson talking, and I'm going to start my assessment of everything right there, because just already listening how she refers to Dan Markel, it's a good starting point. Listen to this.
First we got divorced, and then he got murdered. In casual conversations, I don't know whether to call him my ex-late spouse or my late ex-spouse, except that late ex-spouse sounds like latex spouse. Last July, someone, and we still don't know who, shot my ex-husband point blank in the back of the head as he pulled into our garage after driving our then 3- and 4-year-old sons to preschool. We married when I was in my mid-20s, when I thought I could cheat the system and marry a man I lacked passionate love for because, hey, didn't that die anyway during marriage? I saw his intellect and big heart and thought he would make a wonderful father for my children.
Okay, just that. I will link this whole podcast for you if you want to go listen to it. But already just that. I looked at him, didn't love him. I really wasn't into him. But what I thought was I saw his intellect and his big heart. Really? Is that what you saw? Anyway, she's like, I thought he would make a great father for my children. Not that we could raise great children or that we, I don't know, you know what I mean? The way that she words is already like me and my, and this guy, he's going to be a great father to my children. Now, if you understand why I'm saying it, because I'm sure there's going to be someone here that's going to nitpick that and say, well, you know, that's just normal, what she said. Sure, but if you put it in the context of everything and just how selfish the Adelsons have been and everything that led up to Dan Markel's murder, yeah, I would already say that is crap. Because Donna, how bad is this? Donna targeted Dan Markel on an app called JDate, which is for Jewish dating. She was going through everyone as if she's like Tinder granny, just like tick, 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 yes, yes, no, 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 you know what I mean? And then she saw Dan Markel and she said to Wendi, I think he's gonna be a good one for you. So Donna, the domestic coordinator, even controlled Wendy's dating life, kind of pushing Wendi in that direction. How sad is it to think? That's what makes Donna so bad. You targeted him and you had him killed when you couldn't have your grandkids exactly where you wanted them to live. I mean, wow. But anyway, so Wendi was a big girl already. When she got married, she didn't have to understand coercive control as a factor in this case. But what I'm saying is to say this on a podcast after the fact to say you didn't have passionate love for him, that you weren't that into him, but you know, you thought he could be a great father for my children, and then you changed your mind somewhere along the way. I just don't like it. I feel very, very sorry for Dan Markel. Okay, are we now ready to dive into all the clips that I have gone and picked out for you? And let me tell you, I could make this my life's work, just going to pick out 100 more clips. But at some point, I had to tell myself, just call it a day. Just, you have enough clips to show them, okay? Because, my goodness, when you look at all these just from Donna Adelson's trial, okay? So I downloaded all Donna Adelson's trial replays, the ones that when I'm on the screen, so you'll see double G in a moment. Yeah, I downloaded all of those and went and found the exact clips that I had in mind to show you of why I think the state does have enough to arrest and fully prosecute Wendi Adelson. And so I've made a little paper list over here, and now we're going to talk about it because it's in the clips, okay? Ready? Here we go.
Smiley face with a lot of smiles.
Yes.
And that's at Halloween on 5:19 p.m.?
Yes.
All right, and how does Donna Adelson respond to this news?
She says, wow, Charlie, thank you again. How did you accomplish that? You are a miracle worker. Tell us.
And if Wendi...
Okay, why is that important? We're going to go back. Why is that so important? Wait, let's just play it like this without sound so that I can just get to the slide. That was Halloween of 2013. Okay, that is when Charlie Adelson at a Halloween party actually approached Catherine McBonowa, who he was dating at the time. She's the intermediary between the Adelsons and the hitman, right? And said, do you know anyone who can harm someone? And she said, yeah, dude, like these two think Catherine and Charlie, like this was their like sexy talk. Yeah, dude, like he's like, I'm a gangster periodontist. And she's like, I'm so gangster as well. And I do know someone like that. And so the plot starts. Now, Charlie says spoke to Wendi. This was October 31st of 2013. See, right after, like, kind of at the Halloween party. Spoke to Wendi for 20 minutes last night. She texted me today that she pulled the plug on the house. Okay, so Wendi was using, I think, Donna's maiden name, if I'm not mistaken, which is, I think, Donna Sue Jacobs, because they didn't want Dan Markel to know that Wendi was buying a house in Tallahassee, because they thought he could use that as like ammo to show, well, there, she's buying a house in Tallahassee. Why the heck is she trying to relocate the kids to Miami? When Charlie heard that Wendi was buying a house, he was basically convincing her, you don't need to buy that house. Don't buy the house, because don't worry, this will not be a problem for much longer. So if you think of October 31st of 2013, November, December, January, February, March, April, May, June, 14th of July, 8.5 months later, Dan Markel was murdered. Okay. And so this, wow, that tells me that, does that not tell you that he called Wendi and told her, don't buy the house, because this problem you're having that you can't relocate, it's not going to be a problem for much longer. And then she didn't buy the house. She listened to her brother. That tells me she knew about the plan. She knew about the plan that was set in motion. Feel free to disagree with me in the comments. Please do leave some comments as we go through this, okay? Here we go.
All right, and how does Donna Adelson respond to this news?
She says, wow, Charlie, thank you again. How did you accomplish that? You are a miracle worker. Tell us.
And if Wendi Adelson would not do as the defendant wanted her to do, the defendant often then enlisted Charlie Adelson, her son, Wendi's brother, to solve the problem by getting him to kind of go to Wendi and persuade Wendi until Wendi ultimately agreed to do what the defendant wanted her to do.
Until Wendi ultimately agreed to do what Donna wanted her to do. But agreed. See? Push, 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 agree. Okay, but if you agree, then you're in on it. You know what I mean?
Wendi admitted to police that her brother, Charlie Adelson, had joked that he looked into hiring a hitman to kill Dan Markel as a divorce present, but decided to buy her a TV instead because it was cheaper. And what do you know? The same TV that Charlie Adelson bought his sister as a divorce gift would be Wendi Adelson's alibi the morning of the murder.
Alibi. The state this time said alibi. The TV being broken and that was going to be fixed on the day that Dan Markel was murdered. The TV repairman was supposed to be at Wendi's house in Tallahassee between 8 and 12. Dan Markel was killed just past 11. And then Wendi, at around 12-ish, we're going to look at all the maps and everything, she drove past the crime scene. Yeah. So we will look at all of that. I've got at least, it's like 21 minutes worth of clips, and I'm going to be making some commentary in between. So we might be here for a little while, okay? Check if your like button works, if you do like that. But what alibi, you say? See, my ears went, whoop. Wait, did you just say alibi? Oh, you're definitely going to charge her, huh?
An alibi, the TV repair appointment that was set up by her parents, Harvey Adelson and Wendi and Donna Adelson, the defendant.
Is there a reason the murder had to be done on the day that it was done?
I believe so.
So you could see the label on top there, Luis Tato Rivera, getaway driver, direct examination. The state asks, all these trial days where I got these clips from are on that playlist, okay? And everything is timestamped for you, so you can go and check out, wait, where was Luis Rivera's direct examination? Go find it, click on it. It's in the pinned comments of every live stream replay. It's in the description box, or you could just hover over the video, okay?
I believe he was about to leave.
Who was about to leave?
Markel.
About to leave town?
Yeah.
How did you get that information?
I got it from Tudo,
Where did he get the information?
from Katie,
How did she know?
Wendi.
The way you said it, Wendi. He hasn't said that before at other trials. He's also testified at every trial. He's the plea deal guy. Wendi. Oh. Oh, now you're throwing her name out there. Yep, she got it. Katie got it from Wendi. Okay.
I think Wendi talked to Katie and told her Dan Markel's travel plans.
Yeah.
Were you present for that
No.
phone call? But somehow you learned that Dan Markel was leaving town the day after he was killed.
Yes, ma'am.
So it had to be done that day or he'd be gone.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And that came through Garcia to you from Katie.
Yes, ma'am.
And when you say Wendi, did you know who Wendi was at the time that all this happened?
No, ma'am.
Okay, but you did know there was a lady that you were helping get some kids back in Tallahassee.
Yes, ma'am.
Good afternoon, Mr. Garcia.
Excuse me?
At the time, when the defense said, "Good afternoon, Mr. Garcia," and when he says, "Excuse me," I didn't actually in that moment realize, you know why he says it like that? Because his name is not Sigfredo Garcia, that's Luis Rivera. And the defense said, "Good afternoon, Mr. Garcia." Look at him. Excuse me? Oh my goodness.
Say good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
I just want to make sure I understood your testimony. It was your testimony that the first trip you came up on, you scoped out Mr. Markel's house, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And that he was going to be taking his kids to school. So when he came out with the kids, you're trying to follow him to the school, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
And you got lost. He lost you.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the second time that you came up, you knew he was going to be taking the children to school, and so you followed him to the school, correct?
The daycare, yes.
Yes. And then you knew he was going to be going to the gym, right?
I didn't know he was going to the gym. I just followed him.
You followed him to the gym.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you followed him to his house,
Yes, ma'am.
and that's where he was killed.
Yes, ma'am.
And the woman who wanted him to be killed, past you and Sigfredo and Katie, the woman who wanted him to be killed was Wendi Adelson, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
It was she wanting her children, correct?
Absolutely.
All right. Damn. He says absolutely. Who wanted Dan Markel dead? Wendi. Okay. And she wanted her kids back. Yeah, absolutely, he says. Oh my goodness. I wonder if that attorney, Jackie Fulford, has even realized her error there, where she said, "Good afternoon, Mr. Garcia." Excuse me. I'm surprised he didn't say, I'm Mr. Rivera. That he just rolled with it, but he was like, okay. So, let's look at these clips.
And in that pleading, she says, "I have been upset about this move since it happened in 2005, referring to having to live in Tallahassee, right?
Yes.
Motive.
So before she files her motion for relocation, she being Wendi sends it to the defendant for edits.
Yes.
And does the defendant reply with some edits?
Yes.
And this was sent to...
The point of me showing you that Wendi was sending these filings to her mother and saying, let's edit, shows us that it's not just Donna, imposing on Wendi's life. It's also Wendi actively participating in that, saying, hey, Mom, let's edit. Let's edit this. Let's get him, right?
Donna Adelson?
Correct. One of the suggestions is neither party will seek to relocate in the future with the children without the consent of the other party. If the offer above is not accepted by the deadline, then it fast.
Quickly, I want to go back here. Look at this one. This screenshot here says the wife who unilaterally helped herself to $400,000 of assets she only barely contributed to. Now, there's a whole thing with that, as in Dan Markel's attorney has been doing some interviews lately on multiple channels, and according to him, he was Dan Markel's divorce attorney. He said that the day that Dan was murdered was actually a deadline date that they had given to Wendi Adelson and her attorney. And his attorney said that they were going to file a motion that could get Wendi in a lot of trouble, showing that she had committed fraud and that she would actually lose her law license over that. Motive, so much motive. Oh my goodness, there was a deadline date? The day that he was murdered? I mean, Dan's attorney had actually they spoke that morning and he said, I'll call you back later, and he couldn't reach him because Dan had been murdered. And he said that his first thought was, oh man, they've killed him, when he heard that he was shot. So, this is some interesting information that I don't think we knew before, that there's this added factor, not just the relocation and Wendi hating Tallahassee and wanting to relocate with the kids to live closer to Donna and all of that. Oh, Wendi could have lost her law license and been in a lot of trouble for how she handled the marital assets and the fraud that she was allegedly committing. Interesting.
One of the suggestions is neither party will seek to relocate in the future with the children without the consent of the other party. If the offer above is not accepted by the deadline, fast forward, Mr. Markel will file his motions and memoranda and supporting documents that detail how Ms. Adelson failed to disclose substantial assets in violation of the Florida rules and the master settlement agreement. How Ms. Adelson fraudulently induced the settlement, how she made numerous instances of demonstrably false testimony before the court and under oath in deposition, how she ignored court orders, discovery requests, and made false responses to the latter.
Did your brother on October 31st send you this picture and basically tell you not to buy the house because you weren't going to be living in Tallahassee much longer?
I don't remember him ever telling me not to buy the house or that I wasn't going to be living in Tallahassee.
But he remembers he was so proud to tell his mommy, hey mom, I convinced Wendi to pull the plug on the property. So, okay, all right.
I really wanted to buy that house.
Well,
why does she say in Donna's trial, right? Why did she say she didn't buy the house? She said she didn't have the financial means. Later, Donna Adelson's defense attorneys had some witnesses, including Wendi's divorce attorneys, and they said she had the means to buy the house. So, okay.
you ultimately left Tallahassee, which we'll get to. Did you go to live at the Continuum or at Coral Springs or somewhere else?
In Miami at the Continuum.
And do you know why they chose to move into the Continuum? I mean, this is about 3-4 months before the murder.
My brother had a girlfriend that lived there, and he really liked the property, and he thought maybe my parents might like to retire there. So he was suggesting that they start trying someplace other than Coral Springs to retire.
And did your mom add you as a resident to the Continuum on May 16th of 2014?
I don't remember that, but to the Continuum, the apartment complex had very high security, and so it may have been that if you wanted someone to come and not be considered a guest, they had to be considered a resident.
Okay.
But yet, Charlie, other family members, there's obviously his estranged brother Rob. We'll see some clips from him as well today. No one else was added as a resident. 2 months before Dan Markel was murdered, Donna and Harvey added Wendi as a resident. Wendi and the 2 boys who they'd already started referring to as Adelsons. The 2 boys' last names, it was Markel, but they were changing their names already on party invitations and just referring to them as Adelsons. Eventually, 1 year after Dan was murdered, they legally changed their names to Adelson. They even changed one of the boys' middle names, which was actually, I think it was Dan Markel's grandmother's name. It was like a special name in the Markel family. Yeah, the Adelsons had that name changed. The boys' last names changed. And this is all premeditated. This is all before Dan Markel was murdered. And we know now Donna was absolutely involved in hiring the hitman. So was Charlie, right? And then there's the Catherine McManawa and all. Okay, is Wendi involved? Because, I mean, she's the one who was married to Dan Markel. You know what I mean? So that was interesting because the motion to relocate was denied, meaning Wendi was actually, as she said in some interviews, stuck in Tallahassee. Then why are you added as a resident at your parents' house? I'm sure one could find a simple explanation for all these individual things. But the point of this video is when you add them all together, oh my, she's looking sus. And as I say, I'm sure I could find another 100 things to add. For example, her entire police interview the day that Dan Markel was shot. For example, Jeffrey Lacasse's entire police interviews. He did 3 of them. Everything he says interesting to me. Everything that Dan Markel's friends said, Tamara Danko, other friends that were interviewed by police. There's so much. But I'm trying to keep it relatively short here.
Tab 95, please. At the TV, that was the same TV that your brother joked he got you as a divorce present because it was cheaper than hiring a hitman.
Yes.
Okay. And on the morning of the murder, did your mom text you about the TV repair guy being on the way or coming to your house?
She did. I didn't buy the TV, and the TV had an insurance policy that came with the Geek Squad help. So I think they reached out to her first, and then she let me know that they were coming.
The TV was under warranty, right?
I believe so.
But the damage that you had was not covered by the warranty, was it?
I don't think so.
Okay, you don't think so, but they were coming out there anyway? She had 2 TVs in her house, but she had to sit Jeff Lacasse down with the kids the one day before Dan Markel was murdered and basically show Jeff Lacasse, see the TV's broken, you see that? It's broken, but forcing the kids and Jeff to watch a movie on it so that he could really see how broken the TV is. Now, why is the TV important, in case anyone missed that memo? Because Donna and Charlie, they talk in code. Innocent people don't talk in code. And so Charlie, making the terrible joke the whole time of, bought my sister a TV for her divorce present because it's cheaper than a hitman. He wanted to get her a hitman, but a TV is cheaper, and he bought her that TV, the TV that was broken, the TV that was going to be repaired the same day, within the same time frame that Dan Markel was followed by the hitman and his buddy, the getaway driver. Same time frame, same day. Okay, and then Wendi also the month before asking Dan Markel, where will you be from the 14th to the 18th of July, which is of 2014, and he was killed on the 18th. That's the day that the TV had to be repaired, which is why the state says it's her alibi. But remember, there's Charlie's bad joke, there's Wendy's TV getting fixed the day that Dan was killed, and then there's also the bump, which was an FBI undercover sting operation to get, Donna and Charlie talking. So if you missed all of that, go and check out the trial days, or even just the Who's Who video, because you'll find out there, right? I don't want to get too much into it because otherwise we'll be here forever. But the point is there, the minute that Donna started talking to Charlie, she said this TV will cost about $5. That was code for how much she was being extorted for or blackmailed for, because the paper that the undercover cop gave her said that he wanted $5,000 to, make this problem go away, that he knows that they had Dan Markel killed, and $5K will solve the problem. And she, Donna, tells Charlie, who's Wendy's brother, then this TV will cost about $5. So the family absolutely uses TV as a code word. So the TV issue is very interesting, especially that it happened on that day. What a coincidence.
Okay, and do you recall how long the TV repairman was at your house?
I don't. It was a reasonable amount of time, so maybe an hour or so.
And why did it take an hour to determine that the TV couldn't be repaired or was not under warranty?
I don't know. I don't know a lot about AV equipment.
And the TV repair guy, I guess I should ask, were you upset, crying and upset during the time that the TV repairman was there?
I don't think so.
Were you particularly upset about the TV, the fact that the TV couldn't be repaired?
I don't think so.
Okay, so the TV guy, to your recollection, didn't actually do anything. He didn't fix the TV, he didn't take it away, he didn't bring you a new one.
No. He was trying to fix it. I mean, I think he was trying to assess what the problem was and if it could be fixed, but it wasn't taken away.
The problem was like an impact to the screen, right?
It seemed to be that, yeah.
Okay.
It seemed to be that, but in other testimonies, she said that one of her kids had thrown something at the TV and it broke the screen. Jeff Lacasse said that he knew that it was one of the boys who, you know, there was like a toy or something that went flying. But now she's like, it seemed to be. Oh, now you don't know the specifics? In 2025. So he didn't even, the geek squad was there and they're like, what the hell's the problem? Interesting.
Did you go to a dinner after the murder of Dan Markel in which you vomited at the table?
It was several weeks until I felt ready to leave my apartment. I was very, very scared.
So that happen?
It did happen.
Okay, and that was in a restaurant, right?
Mm-hmm. It was at a restaurant.
Who was present at that dinner?
It was my brother and me.
And where was the dinner?
It was
Florida or here? Or
it was South Florida.
Okay, and you said it was several weeks after the murder?
I believe so.
Had you ever heard Charlie, your brother, refer to that dinner as a celebratory dinner?
Only in previous trials, but never to me personally.
Which one is Catherine Magbanua?
Okay, so Charlie is celebrating what? Just weeks after Dan Markel was murdered. After the Adelsons successfully hired hitmen to do that. And they were already paying Catherine Magbanua. She got a Lexus, she got a breast augmentation, she got dental work, and she got 44 sequential checks written and hand signed and everything by Donna. Okay, but Wendi is pretty much immediately getting the hell out of Tallahassee after Dan Markel was murdered, moving to Miami, which you might say, but she was so scared. They knew the hitman lived in Miami, okay? Or in South Florida, so right, moving straight into the area where the danger is. There's so much more I could say, but let me just stay on track here. The point is, that would be the perfect timing for a happy hour with her brother and him calling it a celebratory dinner. And she said she drank so much, you know, and she doesn't drink alcohol often, that she threw up on the table. Jeff Lacasse, her ex-boyfriend, said that Charlie told her something that just made her vomit on the table. I think it was more like doing shots or something, you know what I mean? Anyway, so that would be cause for, you can imagine everything we know about Charlie, he would want to celebrate that. Like, let me take you out for some cocktails, especially now that you're here in South Florida and residence at this beautiful apartment where the parents live. Everybody was like, yes, happy ever after, huh?
She's on the left with the white top.
Okay, and that's...
Why is that photo important? On the left-hand side is Catherine Magbanua, the intermediary between the Adelsons and the hitman. So there's Wendi on the beach with Catherine Magbanua. There's already a link there. So even if she's like, well, I don't know, it was like Charlie's girlfriend and like, I didn't really had many girlfriends. Why are you spending time with this one? The one that just so happened to do your family a huge favor. The one that your family paid off for like 2 years before Luis Rivera and Sigfredo Garcia had been arrested. Why are you on the beach with her? And the timing of this was interesting because there was the dry run, the practice run, or the attempted first time that the hitmen went there to murder Dan Markel. This was around that time, which was actually about a month before he was actually murdered, because they went back a second time. What is going on here? Oh, is it just a picture of them on the beach? It could be. It's nothing. Somebody's going to say it's nothing. Am I reading too much into it? I don't think so. I think these are all a lot of red flags that you could then put together and go, damn, that's actually a lot.
You in the center there?
That's me in the middle.
And this photograph, was it taken near your parents' residence in
It
South
was.
Beach?
Very close.
During that trip, were there any conversations with Catherine Magbanua or your brother or your mother about the murder?
No.
Is Catherine Magbanua the girlfriend that your brother had in this time frame leading up to the murder?
I believe so, but had multiple girlfriends, so I don't know if she was the only one.
But you hung out with her. So you had multiple girlfriends. The question then would be, are there pictures with every single one of them? Or did you like that one the most, and why? Because your family liked her too. And they used her to hire hitmen to kill Dan Markel, which was an Adelson family problem, right?
But this reference to Lincoln Adelson did happen prior to the legal name change, correct?
Yes. No, I from the beginning, I was scared when I put them in school, and so I didn't legally change their name until a year after, but I was socially using my name for them.
And did that start as soon as their dad was killed?
No, it started when I had to register them for school.
And your mom helped with the registrations as well, didn't she?
I think I did the registrations myself.
What about here for flag football? Did your mom assist with that?
It looks like she did. There were some after-school activities.
Okay, and she...
So cruel to just erase the existence of Dan Markel, right? By changing the boys' names. Dan's kids, Dan and Wendy's kids, changing their name already at school to Adelson, so everyone would know them as the Adelsons, not the Markels, changing the middle name of one of the boys, and then eventually doing that legally and making sure to isolate those boys from the Markels, who weren't able to see them for 6 years. And due to a law now that they fought for, called the Markel Act, they said they've seen them, I think they said twice since then, in highly coordinated visits. So yeah, no wonder Wendi is living in all these different places, whether it's Austin, Texas, whether it's Denver, Colorado, whether it's Canada, all these places that people are reporting that she could be living at. Yeah, no wonder, because she's still, in my opinion, isolating the boys from the Markels. And who knows what she tells them about their own dad, who loved them so much.
Registered your child under the last name Adelson, right?
Yes.
When was the last time you spoke to your mother, Donna Adelson, as we sit here today?
Yes, do tell.
November of 2023.
But you
Why? Why does she stop speaking to Donna the minute that Charlie Adelson was convicted on November 6th of 2023? Then Donna and Charlie were, you remember, doing jail calls, talking. They're all out there, right, if you want to listen to them. We've listened to a few of them along the way, during the trial, during the lunch breaks and things like that. The point is that the minute that Charlie was convicted, Wendi cut all communication with her mother, being like, do not talk to me, definitely not about the case. And her mother, Donna, was like, Wendi, I need you to come over here because I need to hand you some passwords. We've organized some trust funds for the boys. We're getting out of here, right? One-way ticket to Vietnam, non-extradition country. Remember all of that? And they were really hoping that Wendi would come over so that Donna could hand her some information. And Wendi said, whoa, talk to the hand, okay? Do not talk to me about the case. Do not ask me how I feel about Charlie. I don't know. I don't know anything. Here's a huge wall now between you and talk to my lawyer. Why would an innocent woman behave that way? That's my question. You have zero, I don't know what. I want to say empathy, but I guess if your mother is a criminal, like she is now, she's a convicted killer. She had hitmen hired, mother and brother. So is Wendi so shocked by that she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Okay, Charlie was convicted, but it's interesting that then already she cut ties with Donna. And then Donna was arrested a week later. So Wendi has not called her mother, not one time in jail? No commissary, no visits, no cards, no time to talk to the grandkids, thank goodness. But you know what I mean? Does that mean that Wendi is completely innocent? Okay, and she wants nothing to do with her criminal mother and criminal brother? Or does it mean that she knows, oh crap, I'm on thin ice. I'm not going to say a word. I'm not going to make the mistakes that you guys made. And remember, Wendi is a lawyer. She's an immigration attorney. Yeah, so she would be smarter than those two put together, right?
You mentioned 9 times in your law enforcement interview being a suspect.
Yeah.
Didn't you?
I did, yes.
When you were approached at the restaurant, you weren't yet told that this was a shooting, were you?
I was not.
You were only told something happened with your ex-husband.
I don't even know if I was told that. I was very scared something happened to my kids, and that's why law enforcement was there, and they wouldn't tell me what was going on.
But they did reassure you that the kids were fine. You remember
They told me
that?
that law enforcement officers were with the children, which terrified me because I didn't know why my children would need law enforcement officers.
So you didn't.
But yet she drove past the crime scene, and here, she was saying, "Oh, I'm so worried about my kids." But you drove past, out of your way, which we're gonna look at, okay? You drove out of your way to drive past the crime scene, which Wendy's brother Charlie and mother Donna, the two convicted criminals, okay, they say Wendy just couldn't help herself on a jail call before Donna actually got arrested. In that little week there, they said Wendy just couldn't help herself. It's the same way she couldn't help herself that she changed her Facebook profile the night before Dan Markel was murdered, putting up a beautiful picture, a glow-up type of one, which, people have speculated could be because she knew this is going to hit the news, or it could hit the news in a big way, and they're going to use her picture because everybody will be looking at the ex-wife first. So being the speculative narcissist that she may be, she was like, I need a good picture. Change my profile picture on Facebook the night before. The night before Dan Markel is killed? You didn't change it. Friends said they never saw you really change your picture. Definitely not frequently. So the timing of that is interesting too. Yeah, then you go past the crime scene, and when you're there, you just turn around. You don't call Dan Markel to see, are you okay? Why is the crime scene tape all around this Trescott Drive where I used to live with you? Where his home is? Why are there police cars and crime scene tape? She didn't think to call Dan? She didn't think to call the preschool to check that her kids were okay? Wow, that's probably the most suspicious thing to me.
Didn't know what this was about at all when you were in the police car.
In the car, they told me.
Okay, in the car they told you what?
They said, your ex-husband has been shot.
Okay.
So I really only heard.
Pause. In the car, Wendy said at Donna Adelson's trial in 2025, in the car, when the police went to find Wendy, she was having lunch with some friends, and in the car on the way to the police station, they told her, your ex-husband's been shot. Now, homework, after watching this video, go and watch Wendi Adelson's police interview. If you just type in Wendi Adelson police interview, you'll find it. There's so many people that have uploaded it, right? Watch it. Watch the whole thing in full if you can. From the very beginning, when they say, listen, Danny's been shot and he's not expected to survive. She's like, oh my God, what happened? Like the acting in that interview, oh my goodness. But yet they told you in the car? But you're acting like so surprised there. The way she spoke to her mom, the things she said, the reason she said she was driving around that, that way around as well. We'll look at the map during this video. Just hold on. But what? All of that? It's too much. You're lying by saying. So if the police told you in the car, then why are you reacting that way in your police interview? The whole police interview. I could make probably 100 points just on her police interview alone.
Heard anything bad about Danny after Wendy moved out. I didn't hear anything bad about him prior to that date.
Okay, so just kind of went from everything's fine to then hearing bad things about him.
Yes.
And when you say hearing bad things about him, like from her? From Donna Adelson,
yes.
Sorry? Okay. And how did Donna Adelson feel about Dan Markel in 2014?
I mean, she hated him.
Now, what I want to add there is, why did Donna hate Danny so much? I would say, of course, Wendy fed that beast. You know what I mean? Wendy, the damsel in distress. Wendy crying to her mommy all day long. I don't want to be in Tallahassee. I don't want to be, I hate him, I hate him, I hate him. That would also get Donna all worked up and would want Donna to solve the problem. You know what I mean? So Wendy has a part in that. That's what I'm saying. This, by the way, if you didn't see, the title is Dr. Robert Adelson, the estranged son who hasn't spoken to his mother since 2016. And he testified for the state at her trial, and the jury members that have been interviewed so far on various channels and platforms said that his testimony held a lot of weight in their decision making. It wasn't the only thing, but they did say it was very important. And man, I was just so proud of him. This must be so difficult to do.
Would this come from, your knowledge of that come from things that she would say to you?
Yes. I mean, yeah.
Did you observe that Wendi played a bit of a damsel in distress, in your opinion, in the divorce?
Yes, I think that's a good way to describe it.
Now, during the summer of 2014, did Wendi Adelson, I'm going to move on to 2014 now, did Wendi Adelson send you a text where she referenced having a boyfriend?
Yes.
And was this before Dan Markel's murder?
Yes.
Why was that memorable to you?
It was just unusual. Wendi, never was someone who would, share her, romantic life or boyfriends or, tell me or, text me about anyone she was dating. So it just stood out as, unique or different.
Okay, so I was asking you about this text that you received from Wendi Adelson. Can you tell me about this text?
Sure. She texted me that she was going to Gainesville for the weekend, and this was 2014, so I last lived in Gainesville about 3 years prior to that. I mentioned that she wanted I mentioned the name of Jeff. I asked who was Jeff. The response was my boyfriend. I responded I didn't know, and she said you wouldn't. I didn't hear it from the parents. She says they don't know. And so it just struck me as, and then she sent me some pictures of Jeff with her and the boys. It struck me as unique because she'd never shared the name or photograph of a boyfriend before.
More homework. If you haven't ever seen Rob Adelson's testimony, go and check it out, right? And then also, this is now Jeff Lacasse. And the interesting thing is that Wendi was sending a random text to her estranged brother and saying, like, this is my boyfriend. Our parents don't know, but the parents did know. They met Jeff multiple times. So I don't know what Wendi was trying to do there. There is a whole theory. It's a whole rabbit hole of Wendi trying to frame Jeff Lacasse. If you haven't been down that rabbit hole, yeah, it's very interesting.
Want to relocate to South Florida?
She preferred to be down there with her family. She also hated Tallahassee. That's in my original, police statements. It was almost a daily topic of conversation how much she disliked Tallahassee. So was both. She really disliked Tallahassee. She preferred to be in Miami. On our second date, she broke into tears talking about relocation and abruptly ended the date. I mean, it was still very visceral, very
motive.
Important to her. And we were talking about that, and she asked me when children develop autobiographical memory.
So
that was a huge red flag. The things that Wendi was asking Jeff, like, where are you going to be on the 18th? Oh, you going out of town? What time are you leaving? What car are you driving? What route are you driving? And if he had left as he was going to on the day that Dan Markel was murdered, and he looks quite similar to Dan Markel as well, that's just a side note, but if he had left on his trip, he would have left around 11 o'clock on the Friday, the 18th of July of 2014, the day that Dan Markel was killed, and he would have been driving then in the direction around the same time that the hitman would have been leaving Dan Markel's house after shooting him. So he thinks that he could have been set up to be framed or to add some confusion to everything. That is pretty scary. But on top of that, just the whole timeline, go and listen to his testimony because he explains, and he's got multiple police interviews, he explains that he and Wendi were supposed to go on a trip to California. She hated Tallahassee. He wanted to take on a trip to meet his parents. She decided last minute to cancel the trip, even though that they had already had booked flights. She said she'd rather stay in Tallahassee and that she absolutely had to be in Tallahassee on the 18th to pick up the boys. Oh man, there's so much that's interesting there, but also what he just said. Wendi asked what, and he's going to say it again. Listen.
Wendi asks you what?
She asked me when kids develop memory. At what age will kids start to remember what happened to them when they were a kid?
And what was your answer?
I think I said 5 or 6. And she said the only way that I'd ever relocate is if something would have to happen to Danny.
Okay, so these are obviously clips that are put together, right? That wasn't all one sentence. She asked at what age would kids start remembering things? Like, what the kids at the time were, I think they were 3 and 4 at the time, right? Okay, almost 5. So she's asking, like, basically, if you think about it in hindsight, basically what she was asking Jeff before Dan Markel was murdered was, so if my kid's dad got murdered, would they remember it? Or they're like too young, or they're too young. That's what it sounds like to me. Why is she asking him that? Wow, okay. And there as well, this next sentence that I just played, her saying that the only way she'd be able to leave Tallahassee is if something happened to Dan Markel, and then something did happen.
I challenge her. Can I tell you something in confidence? Sure. Well, last summer, my brother looked into all options possible to take care of the Danny Markel problem, including hiring a hitman, and it would cost about $15,000.
Okay, what message was found in the cell?
What? So there was a time when Wendi said to Jeff, can I tell you something in confidence? And he's like, okay. She's like, well, my brother actually did look into hiring a hitman and it would cost $15,000. And he said it was so chilling, she was dead serious, and he felt really worried. But he didn't run to the police. He wishes he had, because he didn't think it was actually going to happen. But it did.
So this is slide 142. There is a text message from Wendi Adelson to Dan Markel asking if he is in Tallahassee for the dates of July 14th through the 18th.
Before we get to the map. What? Literally, you're the one who knows his schedule. You have to pass on the information about his schedule. Just like Lewis Rivera said, she's the one who passed on the information to Catherine McBonowa. Maybe it's through Charlie. I don't know. But somebody knew Dan Markel's schedule, and who would know it best? Wendi? Because she shares custody of the children with him?
And she says she wants to know because she wants to know if she can have the kids on the 16th?
Correct.
And he replies, yes, you can.
And she texted that from her mama's house, from Donna and Harvey's home. She asked that on July 6th of 2014. July 18th, Dan Markel was killed.
Correct.
So chronologically, this would have occurred after the trip to Tallahassee in June by the killers, but before the July trip to Tallahassee when Dan Markel was actually murdered?
Correct.
Now, the dates that Wendi Adelson is asking Dan Markel about, what is significant about those dates? What happened on July 15th?
Those dates encompass the rental car and the trip to Tallahassee and ultimately Mr. Markel's death.
Okay. So July 15th was the day that the killers rented the car to come to Tallahassee?
Correct.
So Wendi says to Dan, are you in Tallahassee July 14th to the 18th? Yes, I am. And the day after she asks him that, they rent the car that's used to go and follow Dan and then kill him. I mean, the timing of that. Do you think the state has enough? Just based on what we know. I can only imagine they have so much more.
Charlie calls Wendi 10:06.
On the day that Dan Markel was murdered, Charlie called Wendi twice, and once was just after 9 a.m. and this was now at 10:06 a.m. So that is another connection, because as we noted before, it would be that the call patterns go from Donna to Charlie to Catherine McBonowa to Sigfredo Garcia, Luis Rivera, and back like that, right? But Wendi has a direct link to calling Charlie, literally calling Charlie, not just Donna, talking to Charlie on the day. And this is about an hour before Dan Markel was shot. So what could it mean? Could she be like, yeah, he's at the gym now, or yes, he just sent me a voicemail? Because Dan Markel actually he left a voicemail for Wendi at 9:04 a.m. And Wendi had listened to it by 9:12 a.m. And Charlie then called Wendi at 9:12 a.m. And in that voicemail, Dan had said, I'm going to drop off the kids, and then I'm going to gym, and then I'm going home. He actually told Wendi his entire morning plan. So was she relaying that to Charlie to then relay to Catherine to relay to Sigfredo? I don't know.
Short duration.
Are you familiar with Wendi Adelson's statement about her locations on the day of Dan Markel's murder and the route that she took on July 18th after her TV repair appointment?
Yes.
Okay, can you walk us through that?
So again, we see her residence here at the time, the Aqua Ridge Way. This is slide 230. Again, just the flag there indicates the area of her residence.
So is Aqua Ridge kind of off Centerville Road, north of I-10?
Yes.
All right. Based on the location info from her call detail records, can you determine the approximate time she encountered the roadblock on Trescott Drive?
I can, yes.
Okay.
So we also have a receipt from ABC Fine Wine and Spirits that is time-stamped at 12:49 p.m. on the 18th. So looking at communication records with location, we see that she begins a voice call at 12:31 p.m. Her cell site is listed as the purple dot and starts at 12:31. We can see, this is slide 232. As we come down to about the middle here, she has an event at 12, or communication during this phone call with a cell site at 12:35, and then that call ends at 12:47. So we see again that will be consistent with her leaving the area of her residence sometime around the 12:31 time frame, and being in the area of, and this 12:47 cell site could be the ABC Liquors as well. We know the receipt time's just a couple of minutes later.
Dan was killed just after 11 a.m. So at 12:49-ish, going the very long way round to lunch, it makes no sense. No matter how Wendi tries to say why she went that way, none of it makes any sense when you just look at the map.
So with that, and to slide 233, with that receipt being at 12:49, the voice call ending at 12:47, she would have passed by Mr. Markel's residence just prior to that.
Okay, meaning maybe somewhere around 12:35 to 12:45.
Correct.
Did Dan Markel have he and Wendi Adelson's children the morning of July 18th?
I'm sorry?
Did Dan Markel have the children the morning of July 18th and he took them to school that morning?
He did, yes.
Okay. Looking at Wendi Adelson's call detail records, were you able to see her calls, who they were from and to, and the times on July 18th of 2014?
Yes. So slide 234, a summary of her calls that morning. And we can see in the highlighted sections here calls that would have been made or received after the time that she would have passed by the Markel residence.
When she
So she sees crime scene tape, which is, by the way, a mile drive to even get to Dan Markel's house on Trescott Drive. It's not, she makes as if she just drove past Trescott Drive and then saw tape and then she'd made a little turn and carried on going. No, the house is like a mile in on Trescott Drive, so she must have turned in there to go and see that crime scene tape. She was rubbernecking. That is so disgusting. But when you see all that, let's say, oh my word, you didn't know, even though your story makes no sense of why you're even driving there. Okay, you're there, you turn around, and you do not call Dan Markel to find out if he's okay. You do not call the preschool to find out if your kids are okay. They confirm with cell phone records, because they did search warrants on her devices, she did not make any calls to the preschool or to Dan Markel. Wow.
Encountered that roadblock, the crime scene tape with the police cars behind it in front of the Markel residence. Did she attempt to call Dan Markel to make sure he or the kids were okay?
She did not.
Thomasville Road and I-10, where the restaurant Mosaic used to be, which was the restaurant she went to lunch at that day.
I am.
Were there any liquor stores in that area back in July 2014?
There were, yes.
Okay, can you thank you.
So what we see, slide 237, again, we are showing the residence, her residence at the time on Aqua Ridge, and her ultimate destination, which was Mosaic off of Thomasville Road. So clearly the next slide.
Look at it. She could have just gone slightly north and west to get to this restaurant where she was meeting friends for lunch. But she wanted to buy some, bourbon for the stock of the bar party later that night at a liquor store. There are 2 liquor stores near that restaurant, Mosaic. She had no reason to drive I think it's 9 miles south, completely out of her way to go and look at the crime scene. And as Charlie and Donna said, well, she just couldn't help herself. I also think she just couldn't help herself. But that is what gives her away. That to me is bring out those silver bracelets.
Here shows, as calculated by the mapping software, the most direct route between those 2 locations as far as where she was heading.
And then were there any liquor stores in the area of Mosaic at that time?
There were.
Yes, but you were asked on cross, wouldn't things have been potentially great for Danny down there too?
Yes, I think they would have.
Couldn't we all have lived happily ever after if he would have agreed to move down there too? Possibly, right?
Possibly.
But he wouldn't agree.
He didn't agree, no.
Nothing further.
Georgia Kappelman is just the best, right? So I hope that you understood that map time. I'm sure if you've seen the trial, this is crazy. This is so crazy what Wendi did. So around here, because Mosaic, that restaurant doesn't exist anymore. It closed. And so it's around here. And then her house is over here, this Aqua Ridge Drive. So look at it, okay? Wendi had a lunch date. And she needed, with friends, and she needed to go and buy some bourbon for a party that night. So instead of driving just this way to get there, that would have been a simple thing to do. She tells everyone she took a shortcut to a liquor store that she knew down here, which is ABC Liquors, right? Okay, it's around here. Right, and then 2116 is Trescott Drive is where Dan Markel's house was, and that's where he was shot. So you're telling the world, Wendi, that you drove here on Centerville Road from your house, okay? You didn't just quickly go for lunch and stop at the variety of liquor stores around here. There were at least 2. No, you didn't do that. What you decided to do and change your story about is take your ass this way, south, driving around. Look at that shortcut. Not a shortcut at all. Okay, and you're going to, because you lived in this house with Dan before, so you're going to a familiar area, right? But now you're driving around here, and this is Trescott Drive, and you decide you need to go in there. You're still not just continuing on Centerville Road and then across here to get to ABC Liquors. No, you're turning into Trescott Drive. But what you're telling everyone and what you want everyone to believe, as if we can't look at a damn Google map, is when you drove here, already here there's crime scene tape. But it wasn't like that. There's footage of the tape. So you had to go in here and drive almost a mile. And one of the jurors that was interviewed said there's so many speed bumps here too. It's definitely not a convenient way to do a shortcut to here. You could see she could drive here to get to ABC Liquors, sure. But why are you going to ABC Liquors of all places when you live up there? And there's a whole bunch of other stores. One can argue in her favor, it's her familiar territory. Okay, but you're telling people that you were driving here, saw the tape, turned around and carried on driving to go and get your bullet bourbon, which she did get and they've got receipts for, as you saw. But that's not the truth, because you drove in here. Okay, the cops noticed her car because they said the movements were kind of suspicious. What is this person doing? Why are they turning in, looking, and then turning around again? Okay, that. She drove there, saw the police cars, saw the tape and everything, turned around and drove away instead of, and didn't, or even if she turned around oh my word, there's crime scene tape, didn't call anyone about it. didn't call the police, didn't call Dan Markel, didn't call the preschool to find out if her kids were okay. Her kids were plausibly the most important thing to her. Still are, right? That's what all of this relocation fighting and the divorce and everything was about. So you're telling me Dan had the kids that morning, and even though he sent you a voice note to say, I'm going to drop off the kids and then I'm going to the gym and then I'll be back home, you see all the tape, the crime scene tape at the house, and you do not call the preschool just to even find out if your kids are okay. That means she knew that they were okay. It means she had knowledge from somebody, maybe like Charlie Adelson, that everything went according to plan. And she just had to go look to confirm for herself. It's bizarre. This is like completely crazy. So yeah, I hope I saved the best for last, because I think that is what's going to get her. Now, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you will like, that you will share, and that you'll continue to follow this case with me, because I think there's going to be more to follow. Are we going to see mugshots? Are we going to see more arrests or not? I mean, in some cases, we all anticipate an arrest and it just never happens, so I don't know. But I do think that some of these things, they definitely raise some red flags. They're interesting to consider. And knowing Georgia Kappelman, one of the best prosecutors ever, and her team, I think they're going to go after Wendi. So I'm pretty sure she's looking over her shoulder right now. There's rumor that she's been asking her boyfriend to adopt the kids. Okay, there's a lot of rumors going around right now. So leave your comments below. Leave me your thoughts. If there's other, I mean, there's lots, okay? There's lots more I could have added to this video, but we do not want to be here all day. Okay, so if there's anything that you can think of where it's like, remember this, and what about that, and when she said this, and whatever it is, feel free to put that in the comments below, and I will most certainly see you in the next one. I do want to potentially, let me know if you want to, read you the emails between Donna and Wendi. We saw some of them during Donna's trial, but to see all the documents together, it's interesting just to see how the two of them were talking about Dan and about the divorce and about the relocation and all of that. So I can definitely do that as well. Also, let me know if you'd like a video on the top moments of the trial, because that's something I'd also like to perhaps work on for you. All right, everyone. In the meantime, stay safe, and remember that murder is not a way to solve problems. I do think we need to spell it out sometimes, because some people seem to think it is. It's not. All right. See you soon.